Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Minister of Finance encourages all naysayers of the government's enterprises bill to read it in depth before making what he called short-sighted comments.
Labor Minister Deon Fowlkes defends the government's commercial enterprises bill.
The Prime Minister weighs in on what is happening with the Environmental Minister.
An outraged group of staff members from the NIB headquarters this morning find out exactly why they're asking for the CEO to step down.
To you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Vonique Tood. Topping news tonight, incredibly short-sighted and misguided. That's how Deputy Prime Minister Peter Turnquest described comments made by opposition leader Philip Davis regarding government's commercial enterprises bill. Davis said a PLP government would repeal the bill. But in an interview with our news today, Turnquest said it would be better if Davis actually read it before commenting, saying potential international investors are watching. Kyle Joaquin reports.
The Minister of Finance said in hearing of the opposition leader's comments on the new bill, he was left disappointed, mostly because he said it appears the opposition leader isn't trying to fully understand exactly what the government wants to accomplish with it.
What we are attempting to do with this commercial enterprises bill is to attract business to the Bahamas that is not traditional, that is in areas that we as Bahamians have not been involved in, that are underrepresented in our community.
The opposition and to an extent the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce have raised concerns over foreign entities taking business away or making it harder for Bahamian-owned companies. Davis in a statement Sunday said the bill would only further enrich the land barons in the country, whom he said hold too much wealth in the country as it is now. Turnquest said when it comes to Davis and his warning to foreign investors, it is unfortunate and sends a bad sign abroad.
If they think that this is only a statement for the local political fodder, they are mistaken. Because even as I was out on the road promoting our bond offering a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that was clear is that investors look at the local newspapers, they watch the parliament, and they listen for clues as to where the country is headed. And so when we make these kind of statements, we're being very irresponsible and we're being very, very damaging.
Concern was also raised over the part of the bill that speaks to work permits, where the Department of Immigration must respond to the work permit application of these companies within 14 days, or the permit and failure to do so means the work permit is automatically granted.
The legislation doesn't say that it has to grant a work permit in 14 days. It says it must respond. And so they can respond in 5 days and say to the potential investor, we don't agree that you have the skill to do what you say you're going to do. They can respond and say, we are considering your application. We need to do a little bit more vetting on your background. We will respond to you again in 5 days or 10 days or 15 days or 20 days.
The finance minister said for too long, the Bahamas has been relying on the two-legged stool of tourism and financial services. He said, frankly, most Bahamians are risk adverse, which in this case means most would prefer not to invest in startups or ventures that may not have a return for some 3 to 5 years. You
have to start somewhere. And all we're saying is that we want to make the Bahamas attractive so that we attract to this country those non-traditional businesses that we have not been competitive in, that we're able to give a start to some young Bahamian to develop a new industry and to grow with a new industry.
Reporting for our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis also chimed in on the controversy surrounding the commercial enterprises bill, asserting that despite pushback from the opposition, the financial sector and the middle class are dying, and the bill will help to expand the economy.
I think it will move forward, but we cannot continue to live in a bubble. The world is now digital. The Bahamas cannot remain analog. If we want to grow this economy, then we must think outside the box and we must create new pillars. We have tourism, yes, we have the financial sector, yes, but the financial sector is dying. The middle class is dying. So it's our job to expand the middle class and move more from the poverty level into the middle class, and the middle class into the wealthy class. That's our job, that's our goal, and we will do that.
Meanwhile, Labor Minister Deon Fowlkes is slamming critics who have insisted that the work permit element of the Commercial Enterprises Bill will hurt the Bahamian labor force. Jasmine Brown has that angle.
Fowlkes accused the opposition of playing with fire by criticizing the bill as he insists it's what's needed to grow the financial sector.
Yeah, I think the PLP is making a big mistake.
In a statement released over the weekend, opposition leader Philip Brave Davis insisted a progressive Liberal Party administration would repeal the government's Commercial Enterprises Bill 2017 if the party becomes the next government of the Bahamas. Davis also warned potential international investors to think carefully before accepting its benefits. The bill was passed in the House of Assembly last Wednesday, and all 4 members of the opposition in the House voted against it. The Minnis administration claims the bill will encourage both domestic and foreign investment in the Bahamas and will create economic zones.
It isn't a carte blanche for these enterprises coming in. They have to do the government will do their due diligence, and we'll be very careful to protect the interests of Bahamians.
The bill allows for an employee of an enterprise that has a specified commercial enterprise certificate to enter the Bahamas freely. In terms of applications for work permits, the bill also explains that the Director of Immigration has 14 days to grant the work permit. The work permit is deemed to have been granted if that deadline is not met. A work permit granted will be for 3 years and renewable for an additional period of up to 3 years. While there have been fears of foreigners taking jobs, Fowlkes said that simply is not going to happen, as there will be restrictions.
We have a limit on how many work permits can be issued for any particular enterprise, and we will be monitoring that extremely closely. I can guarantee Bahamians that the Commercial Enterprise Bill will not take one single job from Bahamians. This bill is designed to attract new industries, especially in the ICT area or the IT area, to the Bahamas.
In fact, Fowlkes says the only thing the bill will do is enhance the country by making it more appealing to investors.
It's also a bill to enhance and to create an economic environment to stop the drainage, that's a bad word, but to stop the slowdown in the growth of the financial services sector. We are losing a lot of business to other jurisdictions, such as the Cayman Islands, for example, because of their ease of doing business and the rate at which they turn around applications for everything, whether it's business license, work permits, and we are determined to attract and to be the major player as we have been.
Reporting for R News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The Prime Minister is calling documents claiming that the Environment Minister was stripped of his duties fake news. Giorgio Bain tells us more.
A document that circulated over the weekend on social media claiming that the responsibilities of the Minister of Environment, Romuald Ferreira, had been resigned was dismissed as fake news by the Prime Minister.
They have sent so many documents around by me. And you've said it yourself, fake news.
The document, which had the Bahamas coat of arms at the top and the header Cabinet Office, the Constitution allocation of portfolio read, it is announced for general information that Her Excellency the Governor General, acting under the provision of Article 77 of the Constitution, has altered ministerial changes given previously. The Honorable Romuald Ferreira is no longer charged with responsibility for the following. The document then listed a series of responsibilities under the Minister of Environment's portfolio. Speaking to the media on the matter over the weekend, Minnis insisted that he and his members of his cabinet will not be distracted by fake news.
Fake news have said so many things about me. Those things don't bother me. I've told my entire cabinet just to remain focused. Just stay on the highway, you know where the goal, you know what to achieve, you know the goal, and just head towards the goal post. Don't worry about the sideways, and don't worry about the exit terminals. Stay focused.
Minnis was asked whether he has considered reshuffling his cabinet since coming into office in May.
Your cabinet?
No. I think we're a young cabinet, and each and every member are doing very good. And I think when I do my national address next year, you would see what we've achieved, what our accomplishments are, and what we intend to do. And the one thing I'm looking forward to is the launch of the inner city tax-free zone and the inner city program. That will definitely be launched in April, maybe with the new budget. And you would see something that you've never seen before.
In the speech from the throne, the government promised to create tax-free economic zones in over-the-hill areas to encourage business growth and spur job creation. Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia O'Bain.
Police say the 21-year-old son of Friday's stabbing victim is responsible for his father's death. 76-year-old Leon Sweeting was found stabbed to death in his home off Faith Avenue South. Jared Higgs reports.
With a cast protecting an injury to his right hand and bandages covering his little finger, ring finger, and wrist on his left hand, 21-year-old Lee Sweeting made his first appearance before a magistrate charged with murder in the stabbing death of his father, 76-year-old Leon Sweeting. Prosecutors allege that sometime between Thursday, November 23rd and Friday, November 24th, the Russell Drive resident did intentionally and unlawfully cause the death of Leon Hastings Sweeting. According to police reports, the elderly man's body was discovered inside his home on Friday morning by relatives who went to take him Thanksgiving dinner. Police said he had stab wounds. Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt informed the 21-year-old that his matter would be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court and he wouldn't be eligible for bail in the magistrate's court. The defendant's mother, who was also present in court, eventually broke down in tears, prompting the chief magistrate to call for order in the court. Now, Sweeting's attorney also addressed that bandage on his arm. He said he got medical treatment for that last Thursday and Friday, and he's got another appointment with the doctor coming up in a few days. Attorney Shaka Savills described the injury as significant and advised the magistrate that his client was prescribed antibiotics. Those antibiotics were eventually taken inside the courtroom, with Sweeting's attorney also advising that a consultant at Princess Margaret Hospital ordered a follow-up visit with his client on December 1st. Magistrate Ferguson Pratt made note of the information, stating that she would pass it on to the relevant prison authorities. Sweeting was then remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until January 25th, when he will return to court for service of his voluntary bill of indictment paperwork. Reporting for our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Staff members and union leaders protesting outside the National Insurance Board headquarters today after staff members received letters from the HR department about salary deductions next month. April Sands reports.
NIB is not working. Those were the words expressed from staff members this morning outside the headquarters. An outraged group expressing concern after receiving letters last week that there will be a deduction in pay at the start of next month.
You cannot treat our people inhumane and expect for us to perform. People learn what they live. But they treat us like animals, we perform such. And we are sick and tired of this. And we are standing today to let the world and the country know that enough is simply enough.
President of the Union of Public Officers, Marvin Duncombe, protested along with staff members of the National Insurance Board outside their Blue Hill Road headquarters this morning after he and other employees received a letter from the Human Resources Department notifying them of salary deductions next month for staff absences that occurred in 2016. He questioned the move, considering staffers submitted explanations for their absence to HR as requested.
When you look at the letters that were sent to us, they weren't CC'd to the director, they weren't CC'd to Gardner Taylor. All they were CC'd to is the people who was in charge or the people who letter was sent to. She's saying to be a renegade doing her own thing. And today we are calling for the removal.
Here at now is the festive time of the year where presidents are planning their finances and how they're going to do their Christmas and get their family sorted out. And then we get a letter to say that if we don't produce a certain document to them by the 29th of this month, that our salaries will be cut for December. That is unfair. That is not right.
Vice President of the Public Managers Union, Julie Elliott, also explained that the HR department uses an electronic system where staff swipe in and out when they arrive at work and leave. She questions, though, how they could lose track of the necessary log.
Why is it that their system is so backdated? They have sufficient manpower, from what we can see, to be able to manage the area, and we're just asking for them to do their job, because we can't expect to do our job, which is serve customers, and also do the administration part, which is the human resources side of it. So NIB staff here is taking a stand that something has to break, that enough is enough.
Our News contacted Minister of State for Public Works Brenzo Rolle for comment. Rolle said Director of NIB Patricia Hermans will be meeting with the Human Resources Department to discuss the matter.
The V3 system, we're currently having a backlog because of numerous issues that we would have experienced, where sometimes it'll take 28 days or more for a check to be generated for a person. It's just basically is a very stressful stressful time.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
And still to come on our news, terminations at the Department of Inland Revenue. Details after this break.